Great. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Saturdays for Sustainability Learning. And here we are connecting with a goal to understand sustainability topics. And you can consider this as a mastermind group. So if you are joining for the first time, let me just quickly introduce it within 2 minutes. So I'll try to do that in really short period of time. So this is a mastermind group where we have peer-to-peer mentoring, learning. We are more on the solution part of the equation, and this is a group to get input and advice from people, the members from the other expertise, the from the diverse experience as well. So if you join, so you will be asking question why you are investing 30 minutes. So these are the few things that you can get by joining the Saturday session. So learning something new, networking, learning opportunities, and thought leadership. Of course, the sustainable development is a evolving field, and how to lead it for India and for ourselves. So that is something that we will try to explore. And two ideas for this session is DIKW, pyramid: data, information, knowledge, and wisdom. In today's time, we have more data, more information than we can possibly consume. Wisdom is something that is difficult to get, and that's possible only with interaction and the human element, I must say. And the second pyramid, second foundation, I can say it is discussion and question and answer is the best way to learn. So please feel free to ask your question if you have any. We would love to include that in the session as well. Okay. Wonderful. And if you have joined with the calendar invite, that's great. If not, you can register this. Only one time registration is required. So you will get the calendar invite and the WhatsApp group invite. So that's how we can ensure the sustainability of your joining for the next sessions. If you haven't done that, so please do so. And those who have done so, please, you can ignore that. Okay. Wonderful. So I'm really happy and grateful for crossing 100 sessions. And today we have a topic which is very important for today, which is change leadership sustainability demands. And I'm really grateful to Dr. Moumita Acharyya, who is assistant professor at TERI School of Advanced Studies. And to just briefly introduce about her expertise and the wonderful work that she's doing. So she's a faculty of human resource management and organization behavior. Currently, she's working as assistant professor at TERI SAS, as all of you know. She is also recipient of prestigious Dr. S. Radhakrishnan Post-Doctoral Fellowship in Humanities and Social Sciences, and she completed her doctoral studies from Faculty of Management Studies, University of Delhi, and lot of insights, lot of learning, uh, practically how change happens, and at a management side and with respect to sustainability, what is changing and how to address this change. So this is really wonderful and great thing for us to hear you and learn from you. Thank you so much from all of us for agreeing to joining as a guest speaker for this session. And with with a lot of gratitude, I'll
Thank you
hand
so
over it
much.
to you.
Thank you
Please.
so much, Dhananjay, and thank you everyone else for joining. And as mentioned, I'll just share my screen first. Just a minute. So I'm a faculty of management and with research interest into CSR and sustainability. And as we know that, now with more and more research and mandates all over, sustainability is something which is there, into every business domains if we talk about. So change management, please, this needs to be a little more interactive and engaging. If you have any questions in between, also you can stop me or you can raise your hand because in between I may also ask you certain questions. So please participate for that. And if we talk about change management, yes, that's a ever evolving phase, so it's not that one time process, we all understand. So when we talk about sustainability specifically, if not going into the technicalities, we will talk more from its adaptability into the organization, among the people, among the workforce, and among the challenges which we usually face while taking up the sustainability causes in the organization. So what is it comes to your mind when you hear sustainability? Maybe now you all are practicing, as full-time professionals, but I understand you as leaders also sometimes face the problem of carrying out sustainability initiatives into organizations. So what is that one barrier which comes to your mind when you take up this cause? Any one or two words which you would like to mention? Maybe if you want to put it in the chat box also, it's fine. Any one word which you feel you come across when you hear this. Right, resistance is there, but resistance due to what? I mean, what exactly people fear about when they hear sustainability? There can be many things, right? If we just talk about something, could be related cost related issues, job related issues, anything else. I'm just asking. Yeah, resistance is there, but what is it? What is creating that resistance? Okay, let us see and let us take this discussion ahead. But one thing is very sure, you all agree that resistance happens whenever we hear the concept of sustainability, or for that matter, any change concept, resistance is there. But I feel sustainability, when you hear, there is a little more resistance. Why is it so? Anybody? Why is it so? Of course,
I will,
yeah,
sorry, I will like to answer. So basically, what I observed, I am trying to bring a change in sustainability in tech, right? Because tech is very unsustainable
right.
with the rise of AI and all. So the one of the resistances I have seen is that the tech departments or even the company in itself doesn't have sustainability as a core value. So it's not ingrained right from the top, right? So it's not percolated to the departments, to the teams, to the people. So unless and until there is a value that is shared across the organization, the change is not going to happen because the tech team has no incentives or no motivation or no drive to follow it. So that's my observation.
Absolutely. I think it is Siddhesh, right?
Yeah.
Wonderful answer. I mean, if you talk about this answer, which you just now mentioned, that unless sustainability is part of your core values, carrying down the entire initiative among the organization becomes very difficult. Most importantly, if we try to look into this perspective, we feel that whenever we talk about sustainability, people may be ready with the understanding, yes, sustainability is needed. Okay, now what to do about it? People are not clear, right? It's such a blurred area still in many organizations, and of course, why it happens. Definitely, as you mentioned rightly, there is no top commitment and no top management involvement into the initiatives. So it is for a long time, it has been taken as of course, as an ad hoc function. But with the regular mandates, now we have seen corporates coming up. But still, we know how much there is greenwashing in those reporting as well. So we will today discuss about certain leadership competencies, how which will help us understand, take up these sustainability initiatives across the organizations, right? So that's the topic for today, which is like the change leadership with sustainability demands. So the very first perspective you can see here in the very first slide is that why sustainability isn't just any other corporate initiative, and what are the three phases of leadership it actually requires. So we are going to discuss about these two areas mainly, that we should not confuse sustainability with any other corporate initiative. For example, had it been like not sustainability. For example, we are talking specifically about risks related to climate change, environmental degradation, carbon emissions, right? So these are really going to be a very, very risky situation for our survival. So we have to take up sustainability initiative, and we should not just confuse it with any other corporate initiative, right? And that actually demands different set of leadership competencies and how we can take it ahead. That is what is the agenda for today. All right. Okay. So can you see the first scenario which is mentioned in the slide? Is it visible? Yeah, now I think it's visible. You can see here the scenario which is explained, that, at a mall, you can imagine a scenario. At the checkout, a teen scans a sunscreen barcode with her phone. An app instantly tells her that the active compounds is harmful coral reefs and the container is hard to recycle. The GPS pings a greener alternative, which is just two stores away, and she abandons the cart. tweets about it and tells her friend. What happened just now? Can you imagine this scenario? And this is not something which we are just talking about, it will happen in future. It is actually happening, right? With the just now, as you mentioned, that the advancement of AI and technology, the way it has actually heightened, the scenario is not so far that, not only this, but, customers are comparing different brands at the checkout. They can know that how, this brand, what are the components for other brands, and they make the decision. So it's not very far off or a distant kind of expectations. This is happening. So just a reflection questions for all of you, that do you think it has already happened to one of your products as well? And what did you learn from this? Of course, if this is the scenario and this is how you are, you know, being impacted, then you understand that we are no longer in a situation where we just consider that customers be aware, but we are talking about a scenario where we are expecting that the buyer also to be aware. That is the caveat vendita, right? So that's the kind of, just a minute. Yeah. So that's the kind of transparency we are looking for in the information. Yeah. So in the information means in the information given to the organizations, the buyers, so that they are aware what the customers know. We cannot underestimate the knowledge and information with which the customers have become radically kind of, empowered with the understanding of sustainability. So sustainability is no longer just a good to go initiative anymore. We understand it has actually become a need for survival, right? So that is here which, the new reality speaks of. So the radical transparency, the sharing of information, everything must be at its apex level to ensure that your customers know what's inside your product, where it came from, and what it leaves behind. So that is the level of research the customers are now expecting the organizations to enter into, right? So sustainability, as we discussed, have now therefore shifted from a choice to a license to operate. One customers won't hesitate to revoke, right? So the moment they realize that you are not fulfilling the expectations or the standards which they have now known for a long time, of course, the license to operate, we all know, which is very well relating to our social operations in a community, in a, place, of course, it is no longer being granted. Okay, so this is the scenario in which we are currently there, and that basically this scenario is only to justify the what do you call that the significance of the concept of sustainability for the organizations. So coming from here, then we will further understand that what kind of competencies are really the right set of competencies to tackle these scenarios. Okay, so these are few things which I plan to cover in, because I was given 30 minutes, but I don't know, maybe I'll just have to rush a little more. Sustainability is not like other initiatives. We'll discuss the three phases. We'll discuss phase deep dives with some real mini cases from various organizations. And then at the end, if you have any questions. All right, now the first section, as I told you, that sustainability not to be confused with any other corporate initiative. What does that mean? I mean, what is it? How sustainability initiative is just not any other corporate initiative. See, when we talk about any other corporate initiative, we are talking about a business initiative, and I'm sure as business leaders, all of you would understand every business initiative is associated with a cost. Okay, and you don't need any justification that if this is an initiative, what is the costing around it? What is the profitability we are expecting? What sort of investments we need to make? Okay, so all these things are very natural for any corporate initiative, right? But when it comes down to sustainability, there is only not this expectation of your earning profits. You have to think a lot about giving back or coexistence for that matter, right? Of course, only giving back is also not in the sense of a very strategic existence, right? So that's how the sustainability is placed. Yeah. It cannot be confused with core profitability. At the same time, it cannot be only considered as a community related initiative, right? I'm sure most of you have faced this scenario when we talk about sustainability. Oh, it's CSR, right? Because that is again, kind of mindset among people that, okay, the only thing which you come across thinking sustainability is CSR. Because for a very long time, only CSR funds have been the only way of giving back to community, right? There was no other expectation how you empower your organization or protect your organization or be proactive to the environmental factors for your organization. There has been no thought process around that. So most executives stumble on sustainability because they treat it like any other change program, and that is where they make the major mistakes. For example, you can see here the reality before perception. We should not consider sustainability as in something for the external forces. The moment we do that, we end up doing some kind of gimmick, yeah, some marketing gimmicks or some greenwashing, because we are very much in a hurry to prove ourselves, right, to customers or to certain stakeholders that we are doing right. But then inner core, as you mentioned, it has to be ingrained with your core values. It never existed. So that is what is very important when we talk about a core sustainability initiatives. It has to be more of a operational reality rather than a marketing gimmick. Okay. Secondly, you start with fuzzy numbers. So it's fine if you talk about, the very first perspective I told you. Okay, now you tell me you want to be sustainable. What you have to do? Of course, there is no precedence on exactly what a sustainable organization looks like. So it is very natural to get confused, very natural to get blurred with certain numbers, figures, costing. Yeah, because you have to start with fuzzy numbers. You have to start with assumptions. The moment you feel like only I will start when I get a proper data, I get a proper research, it's too late for you, right? So you have to start acting proactively, and you have to start with fuzzy numbers, even if it talks about certain ambiguous estimations, right? Whereas if you see and compare it with any other corporate initiatives, unambiguously you would know that where you have to cut down cost, where you have to increase investments, because that has been set as a precedence for a very, very long years, right? And thirdly, it touches every function. Now, please understand, we all know that sustainability cannot be left out only for one department or, one group of people to work out. Yeah. So maybe there is a sustainability department, maybe there is a sustainability officer, but sustainable organizations are only possible when it is driven throughout the organization. And what does this help us learn? It is that you need to involve everybody, you need to listen to everybody, and you have to make certain initiatives which considers the presence of everybody in the organization, right? So that is one setup. We cannot work in isolation. We cannot work only with TMTs. We cannot work only with, few people or only with the leadership, right? So it touches every function, every level, every people of the organization. And that is what calls for a widespread operational and cultural change, which is the necessity for any sustainable initiative. Okay, in case there are any questions, please let me know. Okay, maybe I cannot come down to the chat box continuously. So please let me know if there are any questions.
Sure, sure. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. So now we go towards the three phases. Okay, so far we have set the context that sustainable sustainability is not like any other corporate initiative. It needs to be treated differently, and why, what is the reason. So we have this understanding. Now we will understand exactly how can we carry out the process of sustainability implementation in the organization, right? So these are the phases. So whenever, I'm sure most of you are sustainable, enthusiasts, most of you are practicing sustainability initiatives in your organizations. What is the first challenge? As I mentioned, the first challenge, again and again, I'm coming to this question because that is the core. If you don't diagnose the challenge or the barrier which you are getting impacted with, you cannot transition ahead. That is for sure, right? So, for example, just initially we had this understanding that unless sustainability is integrated with core values, we cannot go ahead. So, what are you doing towards that particular phase? Yeah, how should we work out, right? So, that is here this particular slide explains towards that perspective where it shows that capability grows over time, sustainability evolves from a non-issue to a core value. And this is the scenario in most of the organization. It's only a bunch of people who realize its importance, they have been educated, they are aware, but somehow the entire, the flow of those thought process in the organization is still missing. I'm sure most of you will agree on that. So what is it we require to do? How can we proceed ahead? That is the important question. So the phase one talks about, you can see it here as a phase-wise process, right? So the first phase is you have to make a compelling case of change towards sustainability. Now, as leaders, what can you do about this? You can see here in the phase one, it's written unconsciously to consciously reactive. So the present state of most of the organizations is around unconsciously reactive. Okay, so they are not even aware about what is going on. They are not even if they are asked to do certain things, that's a reactive process they do, but most of them don't even understand why they are doing it, right? So the same thing which I explained at the very beginning, caveat vendetta, that is what it's happening. Because of that reason, improper information and no transparency. Okay, so that is the first one, and that is where we have to make a compelling case at the very basic start point. And the core task here for the leaders would be to create a sustainability vision. Okay, now how can we do a sustainability vision? That's also a very, very subjective matter, but you understand when we talk about sustainability vision, it means talking about long-term implications. Okay, so when we talk about this, I'll give you examples also that how is it exactly, formulated. You can see here in the first phase, the core competencies which we discuss here is more on change leadership and collaboration and influencing. If you ask me, I'm sure, most of you will also agree that when we talk about the leadership competencies, they are not, afraid of change leadership. Let me tell you, the top management is very well, okay, change is a concept, it will happen, how it will happen. Okay, they are prepared with some or other, way towards that change process. But what they are not aware of how to take up sustainability as a change project, and that is where comes on the importance of collaboration and influencing also. So the top management is really scoring as per the research. The research says that the top level managers are very less scorers in terms of collaboration and influencing. And that is the reason that sustainability is still not able to, spread widespread across the organization. Okay, so these are core competencies which we will focus and will understand how to do it. The second phase talks about more on implementation, where we are talking from vision to goals, right? So you can see here in the first phase we are talking about compelling, with a compelling case we have to present, whereas in phase two we are talking about translating those vision into proper achievable goals. Because you understand, sustainability, I discussed that it's not just a good to do activity, and for a very long time, it cannot be only on philanthropy. You have to relate it with certain coexisting, or you can say what you call that, collaborations or partnerships, where organization can see their strategic existence. So it should not be something that I do it separately every time on a continuous basis. I cannot exist. The moment the more I align the sustainability initiatives around my business strategy, the more I deliver strategic sustainability, right? So that is what is the translation in the phase two we talk about, where the core task is embedded for operational impact. That is the implementation towards business goals. And the key competencies here we look out for is the result delivery and commercial orientation. So you can see here at the very end, you can see here from vernacular, that is through just meanings, communications, to data, to information, to knowledge, to insight and foresight, which is mainly the competencies for phase three. So in phase three, we talk about expanding boundaries, which is mainly talking about your foresightedness. You can see here, what is it, the state of mind we are talking about, from consciously proactive to unconsciously proactive. Okay, so you don't need to think separately. It is coming down within your own thought process whenever you are sitting, discussing, meeting, anything, sustainability is part of all of your thought processes and conversations. So that is the kind of expansion we are looking for in phase 3. Okay, so the core task is around anticipating the future needs, and that is where the foresightedness develop. And the key competencies we focus on here is the strategic orientation and the commercial orientation. As I told you, it's not just enough to plan certain strategies, you have to also translate it into certain profitable, achievable business goals. Okay. So now let us take up these phases one by one. The phase 1, as I told you, what is it? The phase 1, making a compelling case towards sustainable change project, right? So as you can see here, the mindset is more from unconscious to conscious reactivity, right? So I'm giving you one case study here, and it's a very interesting case study. We will follow this company case study in various other pointers as well. So Owens Corning 2002, this company was built in 2002, and the leadership, O'Brien Bernini, he was the chief sustainability officer for a very long time. He was also the R&D officer, right? With the increasing evolution of sustainability, after some time he left the research and development, and he was a full-time CSO for the organization. So around the sustainability insights which he was sharing, he told that, in order to make that compelling case, what initiatives did he take? And I found it very, very interesting. Just see here, he built a sustainability council, but chose members basis 3 criteria. I'm sure most of the organization have their sustainability teams, have their sustainability champions, and you actually put a thought process behind selecting those members. So just sharing certain insights, how this leader shared his insight in creating that team of sustainability council. So his insights were that it has to be maximum on decision making power. I mean the members. Why is it so? Because you understand what is the core competency. The core competency requires collaboration and influencing. It does not matter that I am taking the top performers, or I'm taking the top rated star performers of the organization. I have to take people who can really influence and who have a strong understanding towards their decision making power. So, but they need not be the ones who are activists. Yeah, you can find in various organizations there are certain people who feel really passionate about sustainability. They will, I'm telling you some examples, like I met a professor, like, and she's like, she was saying that I didn't buy a dress for the past 10 years, and I believe in walking on these sandals. I prefer as much as possible. That's a wonderful initiative which they are saying. So that's like a kind of real passionate people, right? But we are not talking about putting those people necessarily in the team, right? Because they may be a role model, but they may not be a kind of good influencers or strong decision makers who would have a holistic understanding to decide certain things for the organization at certain crucial levels. Okay, so that was the first thought process, that they need decision makers, they need credible people who have a good history of performance, but not necessarily the star performers. So we say the not tree huggers, okay, but credible decision making people, and most importantly, representation from all the departments of the organization, which actually adds on to the same thing which I was telling you, the cross pollination as well as diversity across products and geographies. If you put people together from one area, one department, or only one level, you understand the thought process is so similar that they will all look into one challenge, at equally, right? So there will not be anybody else to question their challenges or beliefs, and that is what is needed when we talk about diversity. Okay, so that is one insight here which is been put here. I was not looking for evangelists. I chose them for their ability to influence the organization, and that is what you have to think of when you are creating a team for sustainability champions, right? So two rules for the first projects which you pick at phase 1, because the phase 1 is really heavy on compelling and convincing and influencing people. So what type of projects you should select in this particular phase? Projects in the sense that how you are going to get that buy-in among the people. You created the team. After that, what? Right? So these rules basically suffice that. So the first rule says that whatever projects you pick up, okay, you have to give emphasis to the bottom line, right? What does that mean? You have to give emphasis to the bottom line and not the qualitative ones. So, when we talk about qualitative things like, for example, this will increase our goodwill, our reputation, our kind of brand value. So these are all the qualitative factors which many people in the organization does not understand. So you have to start with certain concept where the bottom line really gets convinced with your idea, and that is only possible when you actually demonstrate some visible results before them, because they only understand numbers, they only understand visible results. And that is where is the first rule for first phase, that you have to pick up projects which are heavy on the bottom line. For example, you can see here, a redesigned production line at Owenscorn ran on lower pressure, saving energy and extending equipment life. So this is a very much visible results for the people who are working at the production line, that how a certain restructuring at the production line is actually helping in terms of the energy saving and the pressure, which is actually saving a lot of resources, extending the equipment life. Okay, so this is something for which you really don't need to have any more conversations with them. They can easily see the result and they feel compelled and they will follow you, right? So this is something which you should keep in mind when we are talking about the first phase, quantitative versus qualitative. Okay, and the rule 2 talks about maximizing visibility, that is, like how you can scale up your ideas, right? For example, you can see here, pick projects the whole organization can see. Better yet, pick projects that grow the top line, that is your revenues. Okay, so here in the left hand side, the rule talks about convincing for the bottom of the pyramid, whereas the rule 2 talks about increasing the revenue of the organization. If these two things are met at the very first end, you would understand the organization is already falling in line. Okay, because these are the two very important fear or barriers. If you talk about, I'm sure most of you will agree with this. The very most fear is the cost related to sustainability. The very first thing you talk about barrier, it's about cost, it's about money. Yeah, so that is where you solve these two things very quickly. Okay, let's go to phase 2 now. As I mentioned, phase 2 is more from what is it, from making the compelling case to translating it into some business goals. Okay, so the slogan here in phase 2 is what gets measured gets done. Okay, so how do you think you can do it? How do you measure? How do you measure sustainability? Let me tell you. Let me ask you, anybody, how do you measure sustainability? Anybody? I just need one word answer. Anybody would like to attempt? How do you
GHG
measure sustainability?
emissions.
Yes. Anybody speaking? No.
Yeah, so one guess would be GHG emissions, greenhouse gas
Okay.
emissions.
All right, wonderful. So we
Uh,
are going more towards indicators, you understand, right? So emissions is one indicator. There are many other matrices which we follow when we are talking about sustainability to be maintained or attained, right? When we are talking about SDGs, right? SDGs are the broad SDGs, but then how do we achieve that? We have certain indicators, right? And every organization, when they follow certain SDGs, they make their own indicators to align it with those SDGs. And until and unless you make those indicators and matrices right, you really cannot say that you are going closer towards achieving those goals, right? So this is where is the relevance of this phase, right? You have to understand which matrices and which indicators are taking you closer towards achieving your goals. For example, you can see here this case study example, which is given here from a European food company. So there was this one dilemma among them, that the smaller container that fixed, the dilemma was that packaging to food ratio. So how there was a food storage problem. So they were in a dilemma whether to increase the container size, that would actually help them solve the problem of packaging, because then the food will not spill out, and they can do a comfortable packaging by having a bigger container, and that actually solves them from any other kind of thought processes. But then somebody realized that if you're increasing the size of the container, you are also actually, putting people more towards consumption of chemical preservative foods, right? So if you don't want people to consume more of such food elements, then this was the solution, that you try to reduce the container size, where the food storage would also be very less in quantity, and because of that reason there would be faster consumption and shorter expiry, and because of that reason you really need not put much of preservatives into the food, because you are not going to store that food for a long period of time, because it would be consumed very faster. So, so there was this there was this competing metric which actually played here a very, very crucial role in order to solve this dilemma, which was like the presence of non-natural ingredient. Okay, that is the presence of chemical ingredient. So something, it is an indicator that the more you have these non-natural ingredients into food products, of course, you are actually playing with the health. It's actually a health hazard for the customer. So that is the level of information which the organizations need to possess in terms of transparent communication. It's not about only profitability, but you understand here, it's about a thought process given towards the community, right? And that is how certain matrices to be developed, which will actually take you closer towards your goal achievement. And in order to do that, this is a thought process, you can see it. They actually gave away with more container size, with more which is actually could be more in terms of weight, could have been making them more profitable in terms of those products, but they got away with all those thought processes, and at the same time they also did not incur losses, okay, because of this particular strategy. So what are the skills we are talking about when we talk these kind of strategies? What changes in phase two when compared to phase one? So we are going away with sustainability council in phase two. In phase two, there is no need of sustainability council members anymore. Sustainability council or sustainability team was most important only in phase one, when we are going ahead with the influencing challenge. Now it is more about operational efficiency, and that is what needs to be replaced. Vague principles needs to be replaced with hardcore environmental, social, and financial matrices. Ideology needs to be replaced with commercial goal achievements, and certain terminologies needs to be very well accepted when we talk about the scope of operational efficiency. For example, here you can see in the last box, it's written broken, right? So when we say broken, it's like it's broken. It's no more to be, we can't use it anymore. But certain terminologies in a certain way, if we talk about it in terms of efficiency, we can just say that the moment one machinery have started giving us less results or less efficiency, or even if it is working on 70% or 80% efficiency, it is to be termed as broken. Because with that, definitely the production is hampered. Definitely with 70-80% efficiency, we are also incurring certain what do you call that? Certain costs, right? Which is in terms of your energy usage, in terms of your certain resource optimization, right? So that way it is already broken. So understanding of these terminologies, if we talk about this particular change, we can term it as more of a cultural change, which really need to take place in phase two, so that we can go ahead with these cultural insights in phase three for a more strategic foresightedness. Okay, so these are few of the skills, and this is what is the main mindset in phase two. So phase two, as we understand, is more towards the commercial interest with major achievement of business goals, profitability. But of course, if many of you may have questioned that with sustainability, profitability, yes, we have to think of profitability, and that is where is the role of business sustainability. That is where is the role of collaboration, partnering, or the importance of strategic CSR. It mere cannot be just a mitigation tool, right? It has to be a strategic tool as well. So certain examples here you can see That's why I was saying that how they had considered it as a strategic tool and have at the same time utilized it for their own benefit as well as for the community. So the left hand side case study, it's from a magazine publisher. So the publisher was getting some kind of concerns from the advertisers about the usage of the papers or the suppliers who were, giving the papers to the publishing house. And this particular insight was very well captured by the publisher well in time. And the publisher's response you can see here, they instantly shifted to certified fiber in magazines, which they jumped from 20% to 80%. They partnered, not only this, they not only that they used replaced their paper qualities, but they also partnered with National Recycling Coalition, considering the sustainability footprint which the printed magazines are having, so that the same magazines could be sent back and they can have a recycling on those magazines, so creating a proper circular economy with recycled magazines volume increasing 30% in year one. Okay, so that was, if you talk about those mindset, it is actually talking about conscious proactivity. Yeah, so we are already there. But yeah, still we can't say it's an unconscious proactivity because the publisher was, he got an insight from the advertiser. He did not get this insight on his own. The moment he got this insight on his own, we will be more towards phase three with unconscious proactivity. Okay, so that is the case. And here also there is one case which talks about the insight which we are looking forward for in phase three. For example, the conversation that won a contract, a general manager was just like talking about certain prospects with the customers. And the moment he understood the customer requirements in terms of carbon offsets or raw material trade-off, he could walk the customer through exactly what was needed. So this basically talks about, and the result you can see that the organization got the contract. What we are just trying to emphasize is we need to differentiate certain expertise very, very differently. That is where the customer value proposition also could be gained. So sustainability cannot be confused by anything else, Okay, you are also a leader, just go and have the conversation with the customer, right? So we need to give that differentiated emphasis on people who possess these special knowledge, and they needed to be, given tasks differently to possess or to create that value proposition over the customers. Okay, so let's go towards the last phase. Okay, now here this is the most strategic phase where we talk about expanding the boundaries, right? So leaders become futurists, and that is where is the need for continuity. So sustainability is now embedded in the organization's DNA if we reach this stage. Yeah, something with which we started, and this is what is our aim. So say for example I give you this scenario, just let me know what you will do in this scenario. Okay, so this is this industry which is into airlines, and they have got a projection. The industry projection is that the fleet will be doubling from 18,000 to 36,000 planes in 20 years. Okay, so that is what it is. The kind of competitiveness or the kind of demands they are having all around. They are getting that the demands would be from 18,000 to 36,000 planes in next 20 years. So they decided to stress test it. So you tell me what would be your very first few questions if somebody, maybe you are the owner of this industry, this particular company. What would be your very first few action plan? Anything which you would be actually considering as a question, as a to-do point, certain action plans, anything you can answer at this point? Are you ready with this kind of questions? If I say yes, the projection is already made. Are you ready with your action plan? Is it that you will jump into this particular projection and you will start making or increasing your fleets, or you would try to question yourself? Of course, you would like to question yourself. We don't have time, so I'm just, assuming that you would not agree to it and you would have certain questions to ask. And what are those questions? Those questions would be something which would challenge these beliefs. And that is where comes the importance of diversity, collaborations, and what do you call that? That presence of devil's advocate. Okay. So certain questions, you would of course not jump into these projections and try increasing your fleets, right? What if new airports and runways aren't built? What if high-speed rail makes short-haul flights illegal between major cities? What if carbon pricing finally arrives at scale? So if these are certain of these new insights which you put into these projections, of course, it will stall your action plan towards increasing the fleets from 18 to 36,000. You will not readily jump into that, right? And that is where is the importance of foresightedness to bring in these kind of questions which will actually reflect certain skills like probing, curiosity, or kind of what do you call that? Research. Okay, so these are the foresightedness, or what do you call that? Taking insights from everyone, listening. Yeah, so you don't just jump into projections, and these are few skills which will be taking you ahead and help you pass on through this particular phase. That is the level of foresightedness we are asking for in this phase. So, what are few of the leadership skills and what exactly is the leader's work in this particular phase? As you can see here, rethink the hurdle rates, right? Argue for longer time horizons on investments with superior life cycle returns. You can only come up with these questions if the organization gives you that flexibility that don't think about short-term profitability. Even if investments are required, go for it, even if it takes long period of time. Because we all understand that sustainability is not a short-term profit-oriented tool, right? You really need to be investing more on that to get results later on, which is definitely in abundance. Partner with former adversaries. Now, I'm sure most of you know about Porter's model, yeah, where we have seen that how organization have the five forces like competitors, new entrants, customers, suppliers, and mapping themselves in the competitive landscape. Now, here we are talking about rather than seeing them as competitors, you have to partner with your stakeholders, which can include NGOs, corporates, even your competitors, customers, to a very large scale, because sometimes these adversaries can also give you some very good insight. And you can see here one very good example is the McDonald's initiative, where McDonald's went away with the this component of styrofoam from their packaging elements, and they did it in collaboration with EDF, where EDF is also a client organization, is a fund organization which is working with various other clients, which could be competitors to McDonald's as well, right? But they are partnering with these kind of organizations to bring in more diversity and bring in more solution to the problem per se. Influencing the standards, of course, if you have to come or you have to really what do you call that, show your strategic foresightedness, then you have to influence the regulatory frameworks and the standards expectations. Here, if we talk about the Owens Corning example of the that case example, what they did, they were actually suppliers for various green building kind of components. So they did their third party certifications from NAHB, and they registered themselves into the website of NAHB. So the moment the builders or the green builders, they are looking for some suppliers, Owens Corning would be the first supplier which would be listed with the NAHB listing. So what happens is getting these certifications or getting these standards done actually makes your visibility very easily in front of others, and very, very, you get that trust building from various other stakeholders on these issues where sustainability is still considered a blurred option. Yeah, so that actually saves you. And asking uncomfortable question is, of course, a very, very reflective or a curious skill which the leaders should possess. So, can we run profitably without environmental or social harm? How do we benefit from the coming regulation? So, basically, putting and probing many of these questions which can challenge all the beliefs. So, that is our, that is actually speaks of few of the leadership competencies at the various phases which we have discussed so far. So one very important thing about sustainability at the very end, I would like to say is that it's very important to, as the name suggests, sustainable. So it should be sustainable and should not be getting into a halt due to certain leadership transitions. I'm sure if we just talk about otherwise, we have seen how certain political decisions with no leader choices actually halts various sustainability initiatives at the global front, and that should not happen at the organization level. And that is only possible when we still follow that transparency and information sharing at full length, and that actually makes that the sustainability momentum as a continuous process. So just few questions for all of you as the last slide. Now it's your turn. As I told you, where is your organization today? You can take this as a scorecard for yourself. We have different of these, you can see boxes here: unconsciously reactive, consciously reactive, consciously proactive, or unconsciously proactive. So you can, now you understand what all these mindsets are speaking or asking, and accordingly you can just plan your next move. Okay, so that's it, and few questions for reflection. That's it. So three things to do for all of you on Monday: start diagnosing honestly, pick your leader, and find that one quick win which actually convinces your bottom line, and you can start the change process. Okay, so that's it from my side, and open to questions if any.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much. It was really insightful. And I really like that from unconsciously reactive to unconsciously proactive. So that's true that we see in the organization. So some people do it unconsciously and they are always proactive and on the other side of the scale as well. So this is really great. So yeah, so now it is open for the questions. If anybody would like to add any questions, so please you can. You can put it in chat or you can
Or you
just
can share
raise
your
your hand.
insights as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to share any of the insights from the session, that is also fine.
So, Dr. Moumita, I would like to know about your journey, from being organized OD to this, right? So, how you came across sustainability and what was your change process, your individual change process, and how you are using it in the your work.
Yeah, wonderful question. Thank you so much. Because, I am, as I told you at the very beginning, I have been a core management person, and I have taught at various B schools with various core management subjects as my expertise. And the moment I did my PhD, as I told you, I started with CSR and sustainability. But still, even after completing my PhD, I was still, I was doing sustainability related projects and research papers. But still, that passion was not there, that I have to now take up sustainability and it's like a growing area. Somewhere I was doing it because I had to do it. Okay, I'm telling you. Yeah. So I did my research and I completed my research. I did my publications. That is fine. And somewhere I felt that I have to do it, complete it. So I completed. And then in 2017, I got the postdoctoral scholarship. By the time I was doing my PhD, the CSR laws got mandated. And in 2017, so I thought that let me understand that now if it is mandated, how effectively, organizations are doing towards that. So that is where I started my research into various corporates, understanding their sustainable practices towards the business domain. And to my surprise, yeah, of course, the results were not very, very positive. And many of the organizations are still going with the philanthropic orientation in all their CSR motivations, as well as sustainability, we can't even think of saying. Yeah, and this is, I'm telling you, from the year 2017 to 2019. This phase was my research data collection. And that is where I thought, well, while I was preparing the questions, my research, that how it is important to have a sustainable hiring practice, how it is important to have a sustainable leadership planning. So it's not sustainability only to the technicality which we talk about. A lot depends on how you carry out your vision in the organization. Maybe you are a great leader, you speak various things, but how you make it motivational for people matters a lot. And that is where, again, with my postdoc research, now I'm at TERI, and you understand The ecosystem is so strong that with lot of dialogues and discussions, um, in all my cases, I have replaced core management cases with sustainable management case studies and insights. So that is my transition into sustainable change process. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for this question. Yeah. Anything else?
That's great. And I would like to ask one question because
Yeah.
this question I am thinking about it for many, many years, I must say.
Yeah.
So when we talk about leadership in sustainability and especially when we talk about change management, right? So what are the few things that you would be recommending for having means as a OD, organizational development as well?
Hmm.
So what would be the magic formula to change the organization? And here we have the purpose, sustainability, right? Whether it is about ESG, we are not just doing just tick the whatever the criteria are, but actually
Yeah.
bringing change to the people and the organization. So what would be the magic
And
formula as per your?
and sorry, I just want to add to that because that's a related question, right? And because Dhananjay and I do, something together, so I want to add that. So my question is, how much do you feel with that question? How much do you feel awareness is important, and how deeply people should be emotionally aware about the crisis we are going through? So both the answers, if you can.
All right. See, recently I was, there was this CSO conclave at our institute, and there was various CSO leaders who were part of those discussions. And one insight which I would just like to start with is that which is coming from a CSO leader as a practical insight, is that they are saying that, sustainability initiatives could be a top directed one, but it all depends upon how people from the bottom, they actually carry out that change process. So you understand it, very carefully. We can say that, okay, there is a need, but how it should be flown, how it should be implemented, you have to empower your people for those ideas and initiatives. Being a top directed process, it cannot be that all the best of the ideas come from your mind. Okay, you have to make it more of a evolutionary change process rather than only top directed change process. That is very important for sustainability related initiatives. And when we talk about, you have rightly mentioned that, buy-in, awareness, how much is it important for sustainability? I would say that it is even more important because, as you started with the very first answer, resistance. Now, resistance is a common process for any change initiatives. We have to be very, very clear that resistance is definitely, we all understand that also. It's not negative, it's of course positive. But we have to take cues from the resistance itself of the people. That what is it which is creating resistance, which actually expose us to understand that what are the various barriers, challenges, or the organizational constraints which is existing because of which people cannot even think of sustainability. So it is not just their problem. It could be our problem that we have not given them that freedom, that mindset, that culture, which actually is required to required to exist if you have to think like sustainability professionals. So you can talk about very big things in closed doors, and when you come out and there is no more practicing, there is no more demonstration, everything goes in vain. So that is the kind of example you have to set up in organization, and you understand most of these people, they don't even know those terminologies. What exactly is a greenhouse emission, what is exactly a carbon credit? Yeah, so you have to make the language very, very simplified. As I gave you one language, like like broken, you have to create those terminologies to get that cultural alignment from people rather than saying as a imposition. If you don't do it, you are out. If you do it, you get incentivized. Of course, incentivization should be there, but before that, I feel as a leader, you should have more dialogues. You should know the motivations. You should know what is creating resistance. And that is where only, you can find a pathway.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
This
All
is
right.
really insightful.
Anything else?
Wonderful. So if, yeah, Ashish, I can see you have unmuted. If you want to add uh, anything,
Uh, yeah, I
yes.
have a question. So many companies now, doing various initiative. It may be because of laws and other their internal initiative. But when you just take it to CFO level or CEO level, still their thinking is like it's a cost-driven approach, right? And when deciding sustainability with profits, always the profit will come first. It is up to the decision of like C-suite, your executive boards, what they are thinking in terms of awareness towards the sustainability, and how they are integrating it to their business implementation. Still there is awareness is required and understanding in terms of what exactly we are getting in terms of qualitative and quantitative goals. um, yeah, in terms of big companies, big brands, they are doing it, but implementing in the site level or practical level, it is still lacking in industry, I can say. And also the main challenges is that to motivate people to practice in their day-to-day practices. In long term and short term, we are discussing. Many companies are coming and we are going to, you know, carbon neutral or net zero by 2030, 2025. But long term, no one is, like, I can say, yeah, everybody is having some goal, but in short term goals, what they are achieving, it's lacking by day. And now the unpredictable market is also affecting some pressure. When there is pressure from customer, only people are practicing it. When there is a business win, then people are also practicing it. Without pressure, without implementation, I think from their inherent, I can say, some less company are practicing. So this is my judgment in terms of what I have seen presently. But some company are doing perfectly, good in terms of implementation. But still, yeah, the challenges are there. So my question is that how we can, take it and negotiate with our CU and CFO level, just to negotiate with them that yeah, there is a requirement actually in the practical, and we need to do that.
Really
All
difficult
right.
question.
So that's, I think, a ongoing challenge. And if I knew the answer, then definitely, there is like what I should say. I don't have that one definite answer for you. What I would just like to say that yes, you have brought up the challenge very rightfully. And what I say, what I understand is that the problem of cost will always exist, okay? And as leaders, if you are really, have that foresightedness towards sustainability, then the leaders cannot rest it on others to make a compelling case and present to them. As you are saying, that I have to go to the CEO or CFO to convince. The
Mm,
problem is that the CFO or the C-suite people, that is the skill level which we are talking about. They really need to develop their skills more around conversations. Please understand, there is no ready-made answer when you talk about costing. How would you say, how would have a solution on costing? Because of course the other corporate initiatives would be much less costly, but the entire mindset, you have to be that strategic, that how long term investments is actually giving you that benefit also for a long term, so that
mm,
realization, I feel unless and until the top really realizes it, the sustainability
mm,
cannot be ever integrated with your core values, right? Because you understand it is directed, but at the same time, it has to be empowered with other people. If you don't grant
mm.
this empowerment, then it is very difficult to take up these discussions to phase three. So that is
Yeah.
what I would, yeah. So from
Yeah,
the
if there is low
that's
rate
why
of
we were talking
interest.
more around leadership competency. Yeah, please tell
Yeah,
me.
yeah. Yeah, if there is low rate of interest and rate of interest is low, then they are taking it off. If there is the budget is high and everything is to be need to be verified, then yeah, it is lacking.
That's the thing, that they're going only by ROI, which is not
Yeah.
enough metric for you to transition into a sustainable future, right? So you have to
Mm.
really have dialogues around the true matrices. So ROI is just not, it's just one metrics we are referring to. So that's a very, very narrow vision which you talk about
Yeah.
history. So that's
Yeah.
is going to impact the organization in the long term.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, and I guess one more, yeah, perfect, and it was great question and great answer also, I must say. And one more thing, I guess, as you said, it should be participative from the leadership as well. And at the same time, what we say, like a resilient organization, right? And in today's time, when we are seeing the energy crisis, and that's a practical issue for most of the organizations now, and especially when we talk today. So, if an organization, if it is sustainable, if it is, let's say, investing its resources into such kind of initiatives, then of course it becomes resilient and it becomes better in terms of handling such kind of challenges and which are going to grow in the future. So that's the clear trend that we are seeing. But of course, so it requires the participation from the leadership to drive it and to make it actually change on the ground. So not just the short-term benefits. Yes.
Absolutely.
So
So it's more on the mindset and not just only certain targets, which we can see here when it is about a sustainability agenda. So, of course, very rightly mentioned. Thank you so much.
wonderful. Any other comment, any other point? If anybody would like to share the last 1 minute for you, if anybody would like to add your valuable inputs, please. Okay, so I guess this is it. And this was really insightful session. A lot of new ideas we have got in this short 60, 70 minutes of session. So it was really wonderful, really insightful. Thank you so much, Dr. Moumita, for your time and your inputs. This will definitely have given us food for thought. And I don't think this dialogue can end today. So this has started today, so we'll definitely come back to you and we'll also churn out many ideas from this session. So thank you so much. Really grateful for your time.
Thank you so much. It was great to be here and interacting with all of you. And thank you so much for your participation also. Usually in online sessions we wait, but yes, here we got replies. And thank you very much for your questions and your participation. Thanks a lot.
So we have amazing participants. So
Yes.
please have a round of applause for all of you, those who have joined. And I would just request if you can just put your feedback in the WhatsApp group as well. So that will drive the engagement for the next sessions as well. And it would be good activity for us. Just write one key learning for you in the group if you can. Ashish, Ekta, Merlin, Pradeep, Siddesh. So please, if you can, that would be great support. And
Because we
thank
have
you so
already
much.
action plans for Monday. You remember the last slide?
Yeah,
So you
yeah,
can
yeah.
take and you have to give the key takeaways.
Yes,
All right.
definitely, definitely. I'll put that in our group. Wonderful. So thank you so much. Have a great weekend, everyone. And
Thank you, Dhananjay.
yeah,
Thank you.
thanks. Thanks a lot.
Bye. Thank you.